right. Thanks for joining. My name is Jeff Shelton from Wholesale Warranties. I've been the CEO and founder of Wholesale Warranties for the last 15 years or so. We're going to talk about how the industry has been changing throughout the, last decade more specifically. And introduce Stacy Ricci, my marketing director.
I'm going to be off camera asking questions. Thanks so much to everybody joining us today. As Jeff said, we're going to go through some questions on how the RV industry has changed, especially over the last 10 years. Jeff's had a good eye on that as the owner of Wholesale Warranties. So you started Wholesale Warranties really full-time in 2008 during the recession. Mm-hmm. What was the RV industry like at that time?
It was probably the biggest disaster you could ever possibly imagine. Prior to starting Wholesale Warranties, the direct-to-consumer side, my background is setting up dealerships, extended warranty programs. And so a lot of the dealerships that I set up, I would actually get a small piece of everything that they would sell. And the dealerships that I set up, most of them went out of business. Because during that time, it was kind of an interesting period because not only did you have the worst economic recession that I think hopefully we'll ever see in my lifetime, but also the gas prices were extremely high. So it was kind of like the perfect storm for, I guess, the most challenging thing that you could possibly see in the industry. And just so many things happened that were totally unexpected. So, I mean, I remember dealerships that were, huge conglomerates, multiple stores, just rocking and rolling. In the years leading up to 2008, just lose everything. So it's kind of, it was a pretty big wake up call for anybody that's in business, and, it's kind of get rattled everybody's cages, that's for sure.
And I know during that time, a lot of RV manufacturers went out of business. How do you think that changed the industry as a whole? And then specifically, it made for an interesting warranty market.
Yeah. Actually, a lot of my business started from a lot of the orphan RVs, because there's no longer manufacturer's warranty available. So the people that were buying the RVs, they needed some type of protection, because obviously buying something brand new from the factory, you want to have some type of warranty in place. So that really kind of introduced the extended warranty, or the idea that you can purchase an aftermarket warranty to the consumer market. And it was kind of interesting too, because I remember discussing this with a lot of the dealerships prior to the big recession. And a lot of the programs, I always stressed to the dealerships that they want to get some type of warranty that's backed by an insurance carrier. And the programs that I was offering were, you wanted it, a lot of times I'd be competing against a risk retention group. And I would explain to them that actually the warranty that I was offering, or the extended service contract is what we call them, it is actually more financially secure than even the manufacturer. And I remember going through the scenario, like, what, even if the manufacturer went out of business, actually that's not backed by an insurance carrier. So this even has a stronger backing than even the manufacturer. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a theoretical type of situation. And I stopped using that because nobody really believed that would ever happen. So when it did happen, it was kind of an unbelievable scenario, because nobody thought that these big manufacturers like Fleetwood and Monaco would actually go out of business.
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy time. There were also, like you said, risk retention groups, a lot of other online warranty providers at that time. How have you kind of seen the warranty side of things change?
I think it's getting more and more common for people to get service contracts. I think now with the internet, being able to purchase a policy through multiple vendors online, people are becoming more educated about what type of service contracts are available. And also, there has been some pretty good regulations that have kept a lot of the risk retention groups, a lot of the bad apples out of the industry. I think it's just becoming more and more of a dominant product with more and more competition, because you're able to get such a good price on them now. Before, prior to me getting into the industry, or when I was getting into the industry, the only place you could get a warranty was through the dealership, and they could mark it up how they see fit. So I think as consumer reports and stuff like that, and a lot of the industry experts kind of knew that there was a significant markup. So a lot of times they recommend against it. Well, I think that's starting to change with different competitors entering into the market.
Awesome. And if you are watching and you have a question for Jeff about wholesale warranties or the RV industry, make sure you leave it in a comment. We'll answer any that come in live. And if you have a question when you're watching the replay, we'll make sure to reach out to you with that answer as well. So kind of on a more basic note, how have you seen physical RVs change since you started Wholesale Warranties?
More and more technology. It's been pretty cool. Every year I'm always seeing things that I just never even knew was possible. You know, some of the things that like electric shades, when it gets starts getting hot out, they'll actually electronically close and keep your keep the RV cooler. I like some of the, and actually this is pretty common in a lot of the RVs. They'll actually, when the batteries start getting low, they'll automatically fire up the generator to recharge the batteries. You know, the solar power has gotten so much better and more efficient. Refrigerators gotten more efficient. We're seeing a lot more kind of what we consider more of the home units, because before most of the refrigerators, they had also run on propane, which tend to break down quite a bit. And there's a lot of issues with the propane type of system. So a lot of them are going straight over to electricity because they're just getting a lot more efficient. And I think, you know, fuel efficiency is getting a lot better, emissions getting better. Just the technology is just getting so much, it's rapidly expanding exponentially.
And how do you think that will affect RV warranties and how Wholesale Warranties works with these really technologically advanced units?
Well, anytime the more complex a unit is, the more expensive it is to fix, unfortunately. So as you know, as these technologies evolve, I mean, when you're having an RV, unfortunately, things rattle, things break. So just swapping out parts and components gets a little bit more technical, gets a little bit more challenging. So, you know, the warranty is always going to be a big part of people feeling comfortable in dealing with repairs. The other thing that I've kind of noticed too is the more complex it gets, the more difficult it is to understand how much it will cost you if you go into a repair facility. So with the warranty companies, it's nice that you have industry experts that know what the amount they should be paying. And if they, you know, do come across a price that's higher than the average, they will negotiate and say, hey, look, you're charging 12 hours for something that should only cost 8 hours or take you 8 hours. They'll ask for an explanation, and most of the time the repair facilities will go, okay, well, sorry, we'll charge you 8, you know, because there's an industry standard. But, you know, more complex that gets, the harder it is for the consumer to understand that. And getting somebody like these adjusters from the extended warranty become more and more important.
Awesome. I think we have a couple more viewers. So just reminding you, if you have any questions for Jeff about wholesale warranties or the RV industry, go ahead and leave them in the comments section. We'd be happy to answer those. We're just discussing how the industry has changed since Jeff has owned wholesale warranties, been over a decade now. So looking more recently, we've seen kind of a peak in RVing and a lot more RVs being sold. What do you think has caused an increased interest in RVs?
You know, I think a lot of it has to do with people being able to work remotely. You know, when I got started in this business, I read a book called The 4-Hour Work Week, and it was kind of like my dream lifestyle. It talks about how more and more people are going remotely, working from their RV, and they're able to travel and kind of live that ultimate dream and, you know, do some, you know, work from their computer inside their RV. And that was actually my dream when I came out to California, had an RV, I wanted to travel and be able to work this business, you know, remote from the RV. But as I started to grow and expand, I realized that, you know, might be a good idea to actually get some employees, some help, you know, build an office and stuff like that. But yeah, so just like a lot more people, I'm seeing more and more people work remotely. And then also, you know, a lot more, we have the baby boomers retiring at a fast rate. So a lot of these baby boomers are kind of living that ultimate dream and being able to travel across the country, bring their pets and everything with them, and just see all the sights that America and Canada have to offer.
Awesome. So we saw that peak. I think 2018 was really the peak for RV sales. And then in 2019, it started to show a decline. What do you think that is?
You know, I think it's, I don't think it's really a decline. I think it's more of a correction. I think, you know, it's peaks and valleys. 2018 was an incredible year. I just don't know if that was sustainable at that level to sell that many RVs. So I think we're just kind of correcting now into probably what is a very, very healthy, normal amount of RVs to be sold. So I don't think I think the industry seems to be going very, very strong. And hopefully, that will continue for, years to come. But, we'll probably have a few spikes and, maybe a little bit of a valley. But overall, I think everything's been pretty steady.
Awesome. And so now you're over 10 years into the RV industry. You've seen a lot of changes. Where do you want to see the industry go? What are your hopes for the RV world?
I think the bigger the infrastructure to have, more and more campgrounds, to allow more and more RVs, I think the infrastructure will actually somewhat dictate where the market goes. And there's not a better infrastructure anywhere in the world than the US. It's kind of interesting because, if you go anywhere else outside the country, you don't see RVs like you do out here, at least not the big ones. If you do, you'll see little minivans and stuff like that. So as more and more places become, able to equip the RV lifestyle, I see it just continuing to grow. And I think that there's really nothing like that type of experience. So, it's been around for a while. It's not going to go anywhere for a long time. And if you're looking for that unique experience to be able to travel the country, bring everything with you and not have to worry about checking in at a hotel and bringing your stuff in and out everywhere you go, it's the only way to go.
So we've talked in the past about your life as an RVer. You're stationary now, taking care of wholesale warranties. Do you see yourself hitting the road again in the future?
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at some Class Bs to actually rent. That's a good, fun way to get out and experience the RV lifestyle without having to buy something. The other thing I like about it too is I was thinking about a Class B because some of the areas are really compacted to get in and out of. But, if I bring a lot of friends with me, maybe get a Class A, and you can kind of move around and see what you like as far as your own personal preference for where you go. So I'm going to probably tinker with renting for a little bit. And then if I see like, hey, you know what? I have a perfect plot of land that I can actually put a trailer on and, not have to worry about building something, then I'll probably get into the buying an RV again.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for everybody that joined us. Again, if you're watching the replay and you have questions, we'll make sure Jeff gets answers out to you. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Thank you.